Welcome to the second Zero is Hero video. My name's Chandler-Grevatt and I am sharing my experiences and ideas about becoming a overall zero to maintain your work-life balance. Teachers do an amazing job. We are very good at looking after our students and dedicating ourselves to the job, but we often do this at the expense of our own life. So what can we do to maintain an overall good work-life balance? And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about making a default plan. Now, there's things we need to do as teachers that we often forget. So there's the basic biological needs we have, okay? So we must eat, we must go to the toilet, we must drink, we must rest, and we must sleep. And I've had trainee teachers that have ended up with kidney infections because they haven't been taking toilet breaks. You hear of teachers not taking lunch breaks and just having one meal a day. You hear of all sorts of things which shouldn't actually be happening. We are entitled to have these breaks, so we need to plan them in because it's often not deliberate, but we just end up into a mindset of we haven't got time for that. You need to make the time for that to be a sustainable teacher and overall zero. And each week you're allowed to do certain things. So we have the daily things, now this is the weekly things. You are allowed to have some personal time with your loved ones or family or friends. You're allowed that social time that's different to school. You should find time to do some form of exercise so that you're feeling well, you can maintain your physical fitness as well. And also, you need to be able to follow an interest outside of school. You might need to decide what that interest is, or you might have an interest that you're not pursuing and you want to, so you might want to find time for that. And by having a default plan, you have a better chance of doing those things. So those things could be reading, it could be a hobby. So people often complain they don't have time to read books when they're during term time. People often think they don't have time to pursue a hobby like going to choir or a sports team or whatever it is. And there are ways of changing your mindset so that you can actually achieve some of those things as well. It's all about achieving this balance. If you leave all these things just to your holidays, then there's a problem, because overall, going on for 6 weeks or so without doing these things, first, you'll end up building up resentment, but also you're not resting enough. You're not having a balanced life, and that will cause longer effects if you're not careful. Term time is full on and busy. At the start of term, it's very easy to be thinking of all the wonderful things you're going to try and achieve, but often we aren't able to do all of them. So it's good to be able to plan realistically and decide what our priorities are. Now, the thing is, you will always be feeling the need to be a +1, but what can you do to be sustainable and overall a zero? Now, default planning can manage this. Now, I've been using default planning for about 1.5 years now, and it really has made a big difference to the way I'm approaching my work and my life. I feel much less guilty about doing things I enjoy, and I also am able to check in on myself regularly and think, well, am I doing enough of this? Am I doing enough of that? And try to maintain that on a weekly and a monthly basis, just checking in on myself and thinking, well, have I achieved that? So first of all, I want you to think about what is it that you would like to be able to do once a day that perhaps you aren't actually fitting in. So it might be having time to read. What would you like to do once a week? It might be something like being part of a team or a choir or a group or craft group or whatever it is you do. Is there a way you can build that into your life? So first off, just identifying those helps you make sense of what you want to do. So what is your work-life goal? What are you going to achieve at work? We're often better at deciding these things. So, for example, if you're a new teacher, if you're training to be a teacher, it's to get your teaching qualification by the end of the year. There's lots of bits involved in that, but that's what your aim is, that's your focus. If it's your first year of teaching, you may want to look at making sure that you are doing all the basic things that you need to do as a teacher and getting better at those. So building on what you did before. There's a qualification at the end. So if you're in the UK, it's your NQT year. You need to make sure that you are meeting the standards. So make sure that you're doing the right things and heading in the right direction for that. So that would be your overall goal. And if you're more experienced, it may be an aspect of your teaching you want to develop, or it may be that you want to develop a role inside school elsewhere. So thinking about being ahead a year, or thinking about taking on a particular responsibility within the school. So those are the things you need to be focused on as an overall thing for your year. And just one of those is good enough, because it will break down into lots of different things. I've developed some templates that are useful for analysing your work and life balance. And you can do a time audit to work out when you do things, and perhaps look for gaps and things that you want to make changes to, and so on. These are downloadable and there are links below. This is an example of a default plan template. So what we've got here is the days of the week across the top, including your Saturday and Sunday, and the hours of the day down the side. Now you can, if you want to, do all the hours of the day going down the side, all 24 hours. In this example, I haven't done that. We've just taken the 6 o'clock when you wake up to 10 o'clock in the evening when this person goes to bed. But if you wanted to make it more detailed, you could do so. Now you can see that the gaps in here are done in an hour. If you want to be more forensic about it, you could do it for every half hour. But most people find a good sort of brushstroke approach is to look at an hour and decide what it is you do in each place. Now some people use codes to do this. If you download the SOS version of this, there's some codes that you can use. Other people just write in the types of things they do in each space. But the important thing is that you look at this and you reflect on what you've done. This is a completed example of a default plan. As you can see, the person has filled in their morning routine, when they travel, when they do their planning, teaching, marking, and so on. And also when they have their life. So they've got their choir down the bottom on a Monday, they've got some rest time in the evenings as well, and they've got social time as well. So you can see the types of things they filled out. Now this one is quite sophisticated, because not only have they thought about what they do, but they've thought about whether what they're doing is fixed or flexible. So if it's fixed, it means that you have to do it at the time it is. So your lessons are at a particular time, you have to do those. So they put those in bold, the things that are fixed. And there's a meeting there that is fixed, obviously on a Wednesday by the looks of it, that they have to attend. But then the things are like marking and planning and their travel and things like that are all made, are all identified as flexible. You can decide when you want to do these things. And then you need to decide which things are a commitment and which are a choice. So for example, you are committed to your teaching and you're committed to your planning, so you have to do those things. But how far you plan and what you include in your plan is a choice. You can do those things. Your morning routine is a choice. You decide what you're going to do in the mornings. And your choir is a choice, but you can also see that it's fixed. And I think once you've committed to a choir, you are part of that choir, and you know it does start to take that Monday will be a priority unless something trumps it during the week. If there's a school after school activity that you have to attend, but overall those things are there. So this is a way of thinking about each of the activities you do and deciding if and when you do them. Okay, so we've got that going on, and you can play with it as much as you like to get something that's clear. Now some people reduce their default plan down to something much smaller. Others keep it like this and keep it in their diary and reflect on it. Some people turn it into a diary page for each day, so that they know overall they are doing what they are planning on doing and whether they're actually doing it. Now remember, this is default, so it means that you won't always be doing it, but it's the one that you should be working towards and questioning whether you are +1 or -1 at any time to make sure that if you do this, you should be overall a 0. That's a summary of how to develop your own default plan. Now, different people have different ones. You don't need to stick to the exact example I've got here. Work it for you. Now, you will be having to make choices. There will be things that you won't be able to do, but that's an important part of the process. What is it you want to keep in? What is it that you need to take out? And so as you look at your work and life balance, make sure they are in balance and that you're able to do some of the things you'd like to do that perhaps you feel like work takes over. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to find out more and hear when the next video comes out, please click the subscribe button, and please have a look at my Twitter and Instagram. The details are below. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. Good luck with your default planning, and in future videos we'll look at how to stick to that default plan.